Welcome back to the podcast, Secrets of Beauty and Wellness, and I am your host, Dr. Ayala, DMP, owner of Golden Rose Wellness and Medical Spa. And today, I have an exciting episode for you, and this is something that I get asked all the time during consultations and in social media, and I'm walking around when I go to the gym, so I figure, you know what? Let me just do an episode about this, and I know everybody's gonna love this. So today's episode is about Botox, and specifically the type of neuromodulators that are in the market. So first thing first, Botox is just a brand. The actual product is botulinum toxin type A. It's like saying Tylenol and Panadol, they're both acetaminophen. So the exact same thing is happening here. So Botox is the first neuromodulator that came into the market in early 2000, right? After Botox, it came Dysport, then after Dysport, it came Xeomin, then Jeuveau, then Daxify, and the new ones in the market is Letybo. So why are there so many in the markets? And the reality is that we need to understand that the industry is evolving, everything is changing, and new products are coming around. So everybody knows the treatment as Botox, but what we're actually doing is just injecting a botulinum toxin type A, and what it does is it's going to go into the muscle and it's going to inhibit acetylcholine, which is basically telling your muscle to kind of freeze for a certain period of time, and then you go back to square one. Okay, but what's the difference between all these different neuromodulators? And let's dig deeper a little bit about that. So Botox is the first one, right? It came in the market. It was by itself for over, I think, 9 years until Dysport came around. And from all of this different neurotoxin, I honestly think the big difference is in the protein that it has associated with it. So let's just kind of simplify this a little bit better. All these toxins are very similar. The big difference is with Xeomin. So Xeomin, they call it kind of like the pure toxin, meaning that your muscle cannot create antibodies, right? So you should always respond to Xeomin. But what I've seen in practice, and I've been doing this for 5 years now, is that yes, you cannot create resistance against Xeomin, but I honestly think it's a weaker form of a neuromodulator, if that makes sense. Out of all the 6 neuromodulators in the market, I think, yes, Botox works pretty well. For the most part, never fails, but it's expensive, right? And there's so many others that do the exact same thing and it's more affordable. Now, when will I choose Xeomin? In reality, I don't carry it in my practice. I used to have it in the beginning, but as I evolve, as I treat the patients, I noticed that unless you're a very young patient with minimal to no wrinkles, this toxin is not gonna work well. And I might get some comments here of people saying I love Xeomin, and that's okay if you love Xeomin. I don't, because I think it's very weak. I think it's for someone that just want kind of natural results, which is not me. I mean, I like natural, but if I'm gonna pay for a toxin, I don't want to see my wrinkles, if that makes sense, right? So with Xeomin, it's for someone young that's just looking for that baby Botox, right? And then out of all of these toxins, and I think a lot of people will agree with me, is Dysport. I love Dysport. So Dysport is a toxin that actually was made in a lab called MERS, and I love it. I love it. And it's an amazing toxin. And all of my patients know that I love Dysport. Comes from Germany. And this toxin spreads a little bit more than the rest of the toxin. So it is for someone that has a very strong muscle, like males, right? usually my male patients, I tell them, you're going straight to Dysport. Like, we're not even gonna waste our time with any other toxin. I think this toxins, it just the diameter is just longer, so you get better results. So if someone wants to be frozen, we're going with Dysport. 100%. Now, Jeuveau, they call it the young tox, or their market is for young people. I think it's very similar to Botox. So yes, it works. I have nothing against it. I use it all the time. I use it on me. I'm perfectly fine with it. It's very similar to Botox. So let's put these two together right here. Xeomin by itself, because it's a weaker toxin. Dysport is a strong toxin. And then I have Daxify. So I love Daxify. Now, when Daxify came into the market, and I think this is important to kind of explain so it's easier to understand, if that makes sense, because when they came in the market a few years ago, they were saying this toxin lasts up to 6 months. So if you know the data out there about any neuromodulator, they're made to last 3 months. So they actually did research to get them FDA approved, right? And on the study, they were using 64 units of neuromodulators, and that's how they got the FDA approval for the 3 months. If you get more than 3 months out of your toxin, that is fantastic. But the average is 3 to 4 months. Now, when these people came around, which is from Revens, they were like, no, Daxify will last you 6 months. The clinical research said that it lasts 6 months. So we were all very excited. I was skeptical, but very excited at the same time. I was like, if I can only get it twice a year, that's fantastic for me. And that is fantastic for my patients. But when I got it and I started kind of playing with it, I was like, some people are getting 3 months, some are getting 4 months, but I haven't seen anybody getting 6 months out of it. So I kind of went back into the data and I started reading more the actual clinical studies that were done on Daxify. And I noticed that when they got the FDA approval for the 6-month longevity is because they were doubling up on the dose. So what that means? If the glabella, it is FDA approved to use 20 units and you will get 3 months out of those 20 units, then in order for me to get 6 months with Daxify, I have to use 40 units. So if you think about it, if I get Botox and I inject 40 units, then you're gonna be frozen for longer periods of time. That's just my personal opinion. Now, some people love it, and again, I do love it, and I do carry Daxify in my practice, but now I have to tell patients, look, the study of Daxify says that for you to get the 6 months out of it, we have to double up on the dose. But that is just not cost effective to my patients. So what I've been doing instead is just doing my regular dose. So let's say 20 units is what was FDA approved for Botox, and I'm going to do 20 units on Daxify. But I tell my patients, you will get just 3 months out of it. You're not going to get 6 months. If you want your 6 months, I'm going to have to inject you with 40 units of Daxify. That makes sense? Yes? No? Okay. Now we're moving to Letybo. So Letybo is the newest baby out there. It's been FDA approved since 2024, I believe, but we actually started using it recently this year. Now, you might know Letybo as Botox in Korea. This is the #1 toxin in Korea. So they have years and years of study and data, and people love it, and Asian people get amazing results. But if we go back and we kind of compare Asian muscle anatomy to Caucasians and Latino anatomy, we're very different. So of course, Asians are going to have amazing results because they don't have as strong muscles like we do. I'm very expressive. I think us Latinos are very expressive. So even though it is the #1 tox in Korea, I do not think this is going to be a #1 tox in United States. I have tried it. I don't love it, to be completely honest. I want to keep it real here. I don't gatekeep anything. I wanted to give it a chance. I did. And I treated multiple patients. But what I noticed is that it's weaker. It's a weaker toxin, very similar to Xeomin in terms of onset. Duration, I tried it on my staff, and I would say maybe 2.5 months, maybe 3 months, but they were not frozen. Like, it's very similar to Xeomin for those that want very natural, soft results without looking overdone or over frozen. I probably won't continue to carry it in my practice because my preferred are Jeuveau, Dysport, and Daxify. I think are the best toxin in the market. Every injector have their favorite. Those are just my favorite. Dysport has never, ever failed me. Everybody that I inject with Dysport, everybody get amazing results. So I will always carry Dysport. Now, let's talk about what type of wrinkles can be fixed with neuromodulators, or tox for shorter. I don't want to keep saying Botox, Botox, and Botox because then people are going to think I'm talking about just Botox. And as a reminder, Botox is just one. The actual product is botulinum toxin type A. So let's call it tox. Right. So tox, or neuromodulators, are made to relax the muscle, right, for a certain period of time. And then for those wrinkles that you see with moving of the muscle to kind of soften and disappear for 3 or so months. Now, when we see static line, meaning those lines that you see on the surface of the skin without any movement, when your muscle is at rest, those lines are just not going to go away. And that's something we need to understand, because I get a lot of new consults and a lot of new clients into my practice, and they're like, I want this line gone. And I always say, well, the first thing we need to do is to relax the muscle, because if you think about it, what is causing that line in the first place? The movement of the muscle. So that's when the tox come in place. We have to relax this muscle so it's not activating and making those 11s worse, right? But if you have a line already on that surface of the skin, that line is not going to go away with tox. It will soften, but it's not going to go away. And that's something that we all need to understand, because we all have this misconception that you can treat any line with tox. And the reality is that you can treat all the lines with botulinum toxin. So my goal to you, if you already have lines in there, is to do with your tox, do what's FDA approved. So if you're going to do Botox, if you're going to do Jeuveau, you're going to do Xeomin, just do 20 units in there. That's what's FDA approved, right? So if you do anything less than 20 units, you might not get the results that you're looking for. And remember that dose equal duration. If I say you need 20 units of neurotox in the glabella, trust me, you need 20 units of tox in your glabella. Because if we do anything less than 20 units, that hasn't been studied. That's the first thing. And you're not going to get optimal results. And here's the problem. Then you're going to come back and you're going to say, my tox didn't work. And I'm going to say, I told you you needed 20 units. You only wanted 10. You only wanted 15. So yes, it's just not going to work for the 3 months that it is supposed to work. I always tell patients, if you're going to invest money on getting any aesthetic treatment, especially neuromodulators, you need to take care of your investment, meaning skincare. Skincare is extremely important, because no matter If I put 20 units of Botox, if I put 90 units of Botox, if you don't take care of your skin, you're not gonna have good results. That's just the reality of the situation. So I wanna keep this basic. I don't wanna go into details in all the skincare product you should have, but as a minimum, you need an antioxidant. Vitamin C, right? Vitamin C is an antioxidant. If you're not allergic, obviously, to vitamin C, and if you are not acne prone, then I want you on a vitamin C serum, because that's gonna help with Botox. It's gonna help how good it looks, and it's gonna make your results last longer. Also, we need retinoid or tretinoid if you want a prescription strength vitamin A. So retinoid is going to help with the acceleration of the cell turnover, so you can have nice and beautiful cells and skin. So that's just something that is basic, but I think everybody that's investing on neurotox should have as part of your skincare routine. And SPF. If you're not gonna use SPF, please don't do anything on your face at all, because there's no point. If you don't use an SPF and then you're coming here for wrinkles, then just don't come, honestly, because the sun is gonna make it worse anyway. So that's really, really important. I use Tox every single day in my practice. I think that is something that is quick, is minimally invasive. Use the results in about 2 weeks or so, and then you probably had your results for about 3 months or so, and then we can just retreat it. Talking about retreating, I like to follow what was studied and what the FDA says. So all of these neuromodulators, they should not be done anything earlier than 12 weeks. Because if you do your tox and then you come in 10 weeks and you say, hey, I'm starting to notice a wrinkle coming back, I'm gonna tell you, come back in 2 weeks. I don't want anybody to be retreating your muscle with tox before the full 12 weeks, because if you do, you will create resistance towards the botulinum toxin type A. Remember, all of these 6 are botulinum toxin type A. So if you create resistance towards Botox, there is a risk that you will create resistance to all of this. Now, Xeomin is the one that you may still respond. But remember what I say in the beginning, this is still a weaker tox because it is a pure tox. You cannot create resistance towards it. But what's gonna happen if you keep retreating before 12 weeks, it's gonna eventually, all this are gonna stop working, and then your only option is called myoblock, which is a botulinum toxin type B. It's very, very expensive. When I say expensive, it's thousands of dollars to get that product injected. So don't do that. Just don't retreat prior 12 weeks. Just come every 3 months, or if you can space that out, even better. I get tox twice a year. Like every 6 months, I get tox. I haven't done my tox since February. So we're in July. So February, March, April, May, June. 5 months since I did my last tox. And yes, I still have some movement, as you can see, but I'm not at baseline. It's because I don't go crazy retreating all the time. I take care of my skin a lot, and that's for another podcast because we cannot start talking about that now. But I take my supplements, I drink a lot of water, and I really take care of my skin. Now, before I let you go, I do want to add that there was a study that was done recently that if you start taking a zinc supplement, your tox can last longer, up to 30% longer than what you usually take. And there's data about this. I'm just not saying this to say it. There's results and trial about this. So I want you to go ahead and start taking zinc if you're not allergic to it. Obviously, I haven't met anybody allergic yet to zinc, but hopefully no one. But for now, I want you to take zinc every single day so your toss can last you longer. Now, I wouldn't be talking about tox if I don't say this last thing. Unfortunately, there are people that don't respond to tox. And people that have had the C vaccine, I don't want to say the name, but the C vaccine, people are not responding to tox. Prior to your C vaccine, you were responding, and afterwards, you're just not responding. And there was a study about that. It's just not me saying this. It was published on September of 2023. So if you were experiencing this, if you were using Botox prior you had the vaccine and now it's not working, there is a possibility that it's just not gonna work. But all we can do is just wait and see what happens. But whatever you do, don't retreat prior to the 12 weeks. Okay, so I hope this episode was helpful for you. If you had any questions or any concerns, or you want to argue anything that I said, I love that. So leave your questions and in comments below, and then I'll try to make another video, shorter version about that. Well, thank you for listening to me, and I hope to see you soon on my next episode.